Hello aqua friends, what is up? I know I haven't posted a video in a while, and I have these gorgeous lilacs that I've been practicing my wet on wet technique using negative painting. Now I'm not gonna lie, this is a very tough exercise, but it is fantastic for learning the control and the perfect timing for the wet on wet in order to get some hard and soft edges and that beautiful transition from a gradient color to your paper white. So let's get started here. I have a couple of angle brushes, and I'm going to use that for doing the lilac as well as doing the leaves and a script liner for my stem. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen some of these master painters. Linda Kemp is one of those fantastic artists that do wonderful negative painting, and I am very enthralled with Addis. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name here. Adisoran Pornsakaran. Pornsakaran. He is actually from Thailand, and he does tons of florals in negative painting using layers of washes with this wet on wet technique. So basically he wets his paper first, and he might even use just a very soft color, and then he comes in with his angle brushes and paints the flowers in a negative fashion in order to get the petals, and it is just so luminous and beautiful. So I would definitely check out his work. I am going to put his name up on the video right now, so you will have to check out his stuff. It is really amazing. So getting right into this little practice here, and believe me, I practiced lots before I'm showing you guys this. So I have kind of two brushes on the go. I have one brush where I'm wetting my paper and another brush with the purple. And I'm just keeping it very simple with just one color. You can mix in a little bit of blues here and there if you'd like. So if I find that my paper's not wet enough, then I'm taking a damp brush to dampen my paper a little bit more, right where I'm going to be making the petals. Doing sort of two half circles to make these petals, and I'm just doing it in a very organic way. Some of the petals will be face on, where you're going to see all four petals that make up one of the tiny little flowerets of the lilac blossom. And then sometimes I'll rotate my brush and do positive painting around the edges, because I am not going to have a background. I'm just going to keep this very simple, guys, because this is hard enough. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but I do have a very, very faint sketch, and just basically the shape of the two lilacs that I'm going to make. And lilacs are sort of cone shaped, and so I just did a very rough sketch of where I was going to put those two lilacs and the stems and the leaves. So once I'm done with one section, I'm re-wetting. If I have too much paint, you can sop that up with a piece of paper towel like I did. And I'm just going to continue making these tiny little petals. So I do have a 1/2 inch angle brush and a 3/8 of an inch. And for the large wash brush, I'm just using like a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch brush. So as I continue down, you can see I'm spreading out those blossoms a little bit more. And it's really hard to tell how I'm doing this because my hand covers it up. But as you can see, the flower itself is pretty paper white, and I'm just dabbing at some of that paint, so you have these like lost and found edges. So little half circles. Dab, 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 and I continue down. With the angle of the brush, it's really hard to not get your hand in the way. And I don't think it would matter if you're left-handed or right-handed. It's just really hard to get that angle for you guys. I kind of look at my paper from an angle, and if I don't see it, that tiny little bit of shininess, then I will go in and tap it with my brush to get a little more moisture. If my paint spreads too much, I'm sopping it up with a piece of paper towel. And you see how I'm just doing these tiny little strokes. And this way, when I'm working down and I'm continuing to add some moisture and I'm not going into the drying sections, then I'm not going to make any blooms either. So see, half a C circle stroke one way, half a C circle stroke the other way. And that is how I'm just making these tiny petals. Sopping up some of the moisture just so that it's slightly damp. But this is a very good exercise to learn that specific timing. I tend to be a very impatient person. This was a good exercise for me. So there's lots going on. You're timing your paper. You're also making sure you have the proper amount of moisture in your brush. You don't want too much, but then you don't want it too dry because your bristles will split. That's how you know your brush is too dry. So towards the end of this lilac branch here, I'm going to do a bit of positive painting, where I'm just going to turn my brush around and make some positive painting petals along the edges. So that looks pretty nice. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to move on to the next lilac branch, and starting at the very top and working my way down again, following my very light outline. I kind of like to start the very top with a couple of positive strokes for the petals and then start defining them in a negative fashion. So just wherever I can fit in these angles, basically it's a lot of angles making these petals in these little nooks and crannies. Along the outer edges, I flip my brush, I do the positive painting, and then if I want to lighten stuff, I always dab it with my piece of paper towel, or you could also dab it with some fresh water, not sopping wet, just damp enough that it will make it bleed into nothingness. So as I'm moving down my lilac branch, it's getting more and more fuller towards the base. Like I said, they're kind of cone shaped. So you're going to make all these little petals, some behind the others, and these petals are just made up of these tiny little C strokes, one way, the other way, so that they meet in the middle and form a petal. That's how I came up with making these lilacs. I tried all different sorts of ways, and I just really love this negative painting. I tried positive painting and doing these tiny little petals. It just didn't have that same luminous quality that the negative painting brings to the table. getting towards the base, and I am spreading out even more, as you can see, making it more fuller at the very bottom. Some positive painting petals. So this also, guys, is a one-layer painting, because by the time you finish the two lilac branches, the flower portions, that's going to be pretty dry, and you'll be able to just go right into making your stems and your leaves. So with a script liner brush, I'm taking a muted green, kind of muted it a little bit with its contrasting color, which would be red. So just add a little bit of quinacridone red, or whatever red you have on your palette, really. So with your same chisel brush, or right now I'm using a triangle brush to make my leaves. I do love using these triangle brushes for flowers and leaves. It's so much fun. And sometimes if you need to rotate your paper to your advantage in order to get your leaves and your stems in, then go ahead and do that. Adding a couple of veins for some final touches. These triangular brushes have a very fine tip, and they're great full brushes. They hold a lot of water, but yet they have a very fine tip for detail work too. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you like these lilacs and give it a try. Like I said, it's great practice for your wet on wet techniques. Thanks for watching. See you guys soon.